What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Apex presented by RockShox. I'm sitting here with Ryan Standish, who's a professional. Honestly, we were just chatting about this before the start of the podcast. We were a mountain biker, gravel racer, and just all around privateer. But anyways, Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
No, I appreciate you coming on and taking the time. But yeah, we just kind of wanted to get to know you, get to know some of our pro athletes in those ranks. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit about you and kind of like what drew you to the Apex, man.
Yeah, I guess have a pretty long-ish background racing mountain bikes.
Yeah.
Started racing when I think I was 14 or 15, and now at 28, still doing it. This is actually my first year doing it full time professionally, which is pretty exciting. Long journey to get here, but the Apex has been part of my calendar for the past 2 years since they started in 2020 during the first pandemic year. And yeah, it's an awesome stage racing's one of my favorite things to do, and I think the Apex brings in a bunch of good variety to the stages. They've got single track and dirt roads and the little time trial to start with. So you got different lengths of stages and different styles that play out somewhat differently every day.
No, yeah, for sure. And so when you say like this is the first time you've been like full time, I'm assuming you're trying to say that you've had jobs and other things to fund your career for the longest time, and now you finally got a good group of sponsors to kind of make that happen, huh?
Yeah, big time. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
meant. Yeah, and I've had support for racing for a long time, but not at the level that I could do it without holding down another job or two or three.
Right on. So who are some of those brands that you're working with so we can show them some love while we're here on the podcast?
The big ones, Orange Seal, they kind of came on board in 2018 when I moved back to the States, and I've been working with them for the 4 years that I've been back here, and a little more recently Kenda, and then Kenda tires
Yeah.
and Ventum on the road and gravel bikes, and Hand Up Gloves, who provide the jorts that I race in
Cool.
and made famous last year at the Snowshoe World Cup. Um, and also on the mountain bike racing on the Scott Spark, Ride Fast Wheels, who else? Park, Garmin. There's a long list. Shimano and Fox as well this year. So super exciting.
No, yeah, that's pretty epic, man. So what I guess my thing is because where you're located in Boulder area or
Salt Lake.
Salt Lake. Yeah. So what draws you all the way to Colorado Springs, man? Is it just the late racing in the end of the months, or is it's the stage race, the prize purse? What makes you want to go to Colorado Springs and keep coming back, I guess?
A little bit of everything,
Yeah.
including Micah, and is it the Sports Commission in Colorado Springs that
Yeah.
helps put it on? So like they run an awesome event, and I went to college in Durango in Colorado, so
Okay.
it's not on the way, so I don't get to stop in Durango on the way to Colorado Springs, but it's always fun to go back. Salt Lake's in the mountains too, but be in the Rockies is always good fun.
No, cool. And so what would be a tip, I guess, for, some pros that, because like what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out, this is one of those races that's at the end of the year, right? And it's one of those races that, one of two things are happening, right? You're either taking your early season off season, or you're just kind of coming off a big block. And we're trying to let people know that this race is, it's got lots of opportunities, not only for prize purse, but it's got a lot of opportunities for just all around a good time, just a fun race. Because I think it's like one of those races where it's like if you put Steamboat in September, like people are still going to show up. It's just like Big Sugar.
Mhm.
Like those races near the end of the year, like people still show up. It's just I just think that people don't know about it. So what's like some of your advice to some of these pros that are wanting to try to come crack into a race and
Yeah, I
advice
think
on coming out?
you touched on a lot of the good points there. Like it is late in the season, but it's not like they're still racing. I think Big Sugar's in October, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh, Big Sugar, and I think that's the only thing on my calendar in October, and
yeah.
September's kind of wide open. You've got a big break after Steamboat and Leadville and Steamboat, and then you can take your little bit of time off after that, and it's a great race to get your racing legs back under you for the rest of the late racing or late season racing.
Sweet. Yeah, no, that's perfect, man. And so I guess what's your goal, I guess, this year, and then on top of that, what's your favorite stage, I guess, for the
At the
Apex?
Apex.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, I'm trying to remember. I
So
think
we
stage
got the
two.
time trial day one. That's Palmer Park. Um, I think it's trying to think. Now I'm trying to
Stage two
remember.
was up in, is it Castle Rock or up near
Monument, the Monument stage.
Monument?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that was my favorite stage from last year's race because it was, I mean, it was a long dirt road climb, but then the descent coming back was like super steep and loose and
Yeah.
just fun for the mountain bikers, I guess, because we had the EF guys were there too, and they were
Hanging on for
I
dear
think
life.
they were hanging on for dear life. I think they were still going pretty quick, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that's a huge thing for me is I'd never ridden in the Springs. I think I'd ridden there once with Russell Finsterwald
Oh, yeah,
before.
yeah.
Um, and to, I think to go ride new trails and the dirt there is different than anywhere else I've ever ridden. So it's fun to see a new place and the trails and the, what do you call it? The infrastructure that's
Oh, yeah.
there for the trails, and then to get to race on it's also a big draw card for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, Colorado Springs has some of the greatest trail systems I think, you could ask for, especially in Colorado. Um, the dirt's a special one. It's got the pea gravel, but
Pea gravel, yeah,
yeah, but it's
it's hard to figure it out, but yeah, once you figure out sliding around everywhere, it's super fun.
no front brake, no front brake, just back
No
brake.
front brake, that's right.
Yeah,
And I
no,
think the other thing that is awesome with those all the trails there is you can ride them from town.
yeah, yeah. You can literally just pop out of your Airbnb or out of your house in downtown, and pretty much you're on to the next one. I think the Monument one's the only far one, but it still starts within town, I believe.
Yeah, it
Um,
starts in, I think it starts in downtown Monument, and
yeah.
it's
Okay.
uh I think it's what 20-minute drive ish, 30
Yeah.
minute drive
Yeah.
from the Springs.
And if you were a real hard man, you could literally ride up the path the entire way and never touch a road and ride
If
to
you
that
really
stage.
wanted, but
If you if
the
you're a
mornings
hard
are
man.
cold. The mornings are cold
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the Springs in September. It's like that's the other thing, like dressing well for the stages because it's super cold at the start sometimes, and then you go up the long climb and you're sweating and getting super warm, but you're also going higher where it's colder.
Yeah. Well, sweet, man. Well, so I guess what's your training looking like? I guess going into an event like this. I mean, we got people that listen to this podcast from all over and all ranges, and I mean, you're probably used to this now, racing Unbound, racing Steamboat. That anybody and anyone can sign up, and anybody can be a part of this. But we sometimes try to put these pros into perspective. So what is your training looking like leading into? I mean, you got Unbound right around the corner, so I'm assuming some pretty heavy training days. I was looking at Russ Finsterwald's training days, and I thought for a second he might be training for the 350, but I think I
Yeah,
might be wrong.
or the Tour de France or something.
Yeah, he's a madman right now.
Yeah,
So
him and Keegan are doing some massive hours. I'm
yeah,
not quite doing the same volume as them. I'm still doing 20-25 hour weeks, but not um, nothing like those guys. But I think to prepare for those 6, 7, 12 hour events. You have to do the really long rides. But for Pikes Peak, it's more that I think the stages are for the pros between 3 and 4 hours for the long ones. Um, and the nice thing about Pikes Peak is all the climbs are long and steady. Like there are some steep punches, so you can kind of get like just get some time riding tempo for a long time or riding threshold for a long time. And by a long time, I'm like 20 to 30 minutes
Yeah.
in training. And I don't know exactly what my training is going to look like for at that time of the year this year around, but there's definitely a little time off after Leadville and Steamboat, and then kind of ramp it back up, but it won't be the same sort of volume that it is going into events like Unbound and Leadville.
Sweet.
And then I guess the other thing is being able to doing intensity days back to back, so that you can kind of simulate the stage racing aspect of it, whereas Unbound and I guess Leadboat is 2 super long days back to back.
Oh man, I did that last year, and that was a struggle for dear life.
Yeah,
but
that's the drive and the commute between.
I think that was the hardest part. That was the hardest part. It was literally finishing Leadville, and then like everybody's enjoying themselves for the most part, right? Like I mean, everybody's a bit buckled, but then knowing that I have to get into a car just to get to another town a couple hours away, to wake up at 4 a.m. to go again was pretty rough. That was pretty rough.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing also with the stage races that I think the starts at Pikes Peak are early as well. I think they're at 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's not like you have to commute anywhere after each stage, or there's no long commutes, but it's just getting your kind of body and mind ready to get up and do it again day after day. Like you're going to be sore, you're going to be tired, and you don't want to wake up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning so you can eat breakfast and go out and do the next stage. But everyone else has to do it too. So
yeah, what's your best advice to somebody like that, like somebody that's new to stage racing? Because some people, this could be their first stage race, so you have any like pro tips or pro tricks for somebody?
Eat
eat a lot of food
as you can.
Yeah,
because and I think for me traditionally day 3 is the worst, because you're tired from the first 2 days, but you're not quite buckled to the point where you can't do the same power, same like ride as strong as you did on the first 2 days. You're like in this weird dark space on day 3 for me in stage racing. And then you get through that and you got day 4, which is super fun at Pikes Peak, and it's a shorter day to finish it off, and the trails are sweet. And I think that's always good, is looking forward to the fun parts of the next day, when you're like, oh, I don't want to get up and ride. Like, okay, here's like, you still get to do this rad descent on the next day, even though you have to climb up to get to do it. But
makes it worth it all in the end.
Totally. And I think the most important thing is eating.
Yeah. If you feel like you've eaten enough, just eat some more.
Exactly. Like you feel full, you're like, one more plate.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. Guys, if you haven't already, please make sure you go check out Ryan Standish's Instagram. I'll put it down in the description below. I bet if you bug this guy, he's super responsive, because that's how I got him on the podcast. If you got any questions for the dude, be sure to hit him up. Bike he's riding, equipment he's riding. He's probably got some tips and tricks of what things that you should bring on some of these events. And he'd probably love to answer it and help you guys out. But other than that, guys, we'll see you next time. Cheers.